The baby is the office. Why is he not coming out?
Michael's got the board in and Morton.
So I want to welcome everybody here to the Fall River Room. And today's gathering is to help raise awareness on the dangerous effects of secondhand smoke. And Attorney Sousa, who does an outstanding job on behalf of our legal department, is really passionate about the secondary effects and the primary effects of secondhand smoke. And she brought to my attention a campaign that's going on nationwide, encouraging citizens to look down before they light up. And today we're joined by some outstanding students from the Morton Middle School, St. Michael School, as well as the Spencer Borden Elementary School. And this is really what the campaign is all about. We understand that people have a right to smoke, and as long as you're over the age of 18, you can walk into a convenience store and buy a pack of cigarettes. However, it's pretty widespread and well known in today's society, the negative effects of smoking, what they do to you as an individual, but also the effects of secondary smoke too. And one of the main effects that secondary smoke has is on our children. And I've heard from a number of parents, specifically at bus stops, who get upset when somebody lights up a cigarette near their child. So this is really a public awareness campaign to raise awareness regarding the negative effects of secondhand smoke, and we encourage folks to look down before they light up, and before they put a match to that cigarette, think about the effects that secondhand smoke is having on individuals around them, especially children. So one of the individuals that has really spearheaded this campaign and has been so passionate about it is Attorney Liz Sousa. I'm going to ask her to say a few words regarding it.
Thank you, Mr. Mehra, for initiating this campaign, an educational campaign, informing the public as to the dangers of secondhand smoke. There is really no bigger priority than the safety of our children, and making this an issue front and center, educating parents, educating the public as to the toxic and poisons contained in secondhand smoke and the effects on children, I feel is very important. So I thank you for leading this initiative. I would request Dr. Vaillancourt, Director of Health and Human Services, to speak further as a medical professional to how the secondhand smoke can affect the growing bodies of children exposed to secondhand smoke.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Director of Health, I always get to do the statistics and the numbers, which can appear to be boring when you talk about numbers, but do not confuse these numbers with boredom. These are important numbers, and they serve to focus why this is such an important initiative. Currently, 1 in 4 residents in Fall River smokes. We know there is no safe level of exposure to tobacco smoke, but we forget there is also no safe level of exposure to secondhand smoke. The more secondhand smoke you breathe in, the more your health risk increases. It's linear. Even brief exposures to secondhand smoke can cause temporary decreases in lung function, and within as little as 10 minutes you can start to see changes in the bloodstream with release of substances that cause inflammation, an increase in clotting, and other serious effects. So even very short exposures to secondhand smoke carry with them serious consequences. Most of my remarks right now are aimed at children, because children are important. Children are our next generation. Certainly we know the dangers of children who live in a house where someone smokes and are exposed to smoke in the house. We see an increased incidence of asthma. We see provoking of asthma attacks, low birth weight, middle ear infections, and an increased incidence in sudden infant death syndrome. Prolonged exposure to secondhand smoke can actually cause a child's lungs to develop slower and less effectively, and can have major long-term effects on their breathing. To go back a few moments ago, I mentioned asthma. When we speak of asthma, we are talking about a major public health problem. 1 in 13 school-age children suffers from asthma. It's been estimated that anywhere from 200,000 to 1 million asthmatic children each year have their condition worsened by exposure to secondhand smoke. In fact, about 40% of all children who go into an emergency room for a severe asthma attack live in a house where someone smokes. And if we look at very young children, the effects are even more serious. In children under 18 months of age, there were probably 300,000 respiratory infections per year due to exposure to secondhand smoke, resulting in about 15,000 hospitalizations per year. I pose a question: how do we react to the fact that nearly 1/2 of all American children have evidence in their bloodstream of exposure to cigarette smoke? We measure this by looking at a substance called continine. Half of all American children have continine in measurable levels in their blood. And what's even more alarming is that in 1/2 of these children, they don't even live with the cigarette smoker in their house. Tobacco smoke drifts more than 20 feet in an outdoor source, and the constituents can be measured in very high quantities even at that distance. It's been estimated that half of all American children get their exposure to secondhand smoke in cars, public places, and in homes other than their own. Separating smokers from non-smokers in groups, standing a few feet away while outside homes, does not eliminate secondhand smoke exposure. Studies have shown that even smokers who try to be careful about where they light up may not be doing a good job of protecting those around them. The only sure way to protect our children from secondhand smoke is to keep them and smokers away from each other. Ask smokers not to smoke around you or your children. Teach your children to stay away from secondhand smoke. Maintain a smoke-free house if you're a smoker, and more importantly, a smoke-free car. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vaillancourt. You can applaud, go ahead.
Do I owe you the money now or later?
I also want to recognize Dr. Fran Roy, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Public Schools, through a collaborative partnership with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health as well as the Bristol County Tobacco Control Organization. We've been able to really carry this PSA throughout our public school system. And to talk more about that, as well as to give us some further statistics, is from Partners for a Healthier Community, Dr. David Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mehra. I can think of no other single public health issue that needs to be addressed thoroughly in this community than smoking. It affects 1/4 of our adult population, puts people in the hospital more than any other single condition that's preventable, and something that the entire community should really be taking a close look at. I thank the mayor for this campaign that's to bring awareness to people who are smoking, to make sure that tobacco smoke isn't occurring where children are, or for that matter, anybody else. I mean, if you're smoking, the best place to do that is outdoors, away from other people. And we strongly encourage people to who are smoking to stay away from entrances of buildings and places where secondhand smoke, as Dr. Vaillancourt pointed out, can become a health problem, not just for smokers, but for everyone else. We did a study just after the 2006 no smoking in the workplace law went into effect, and 6 months later found that the rate of admissions to our two hospitals for myocardial infarction or heart attacks dropped by 23% in that first 6 months. And that wasn't just among smokers, it was people who were exposed to secondhand smoke. So exposure is a key issue. But I also want to emphasize the fact that if you're smoking, now is the time to think about quitting. There is help available. You can call the number that will be on the information that we're handing out through the schools, 1-800-TRY-TO-STOP. This is free telephone counseling available from 7 in the morning to 7 at night in both English and Spanish, and it's a benefit that any Massachusetts resident can avail themselves of. Also, you will find that if you're covered by Mass Health, that you will have an opportunity to engage in nicotine replacement therapies, NRT, which can help if you've not been able to quit smoking on your own. You can get up to 2 trials in a year, once every 6 months. And that's a benefit, and I think that's because insurers are understanding that when people try to quit, it may not be the first time, but eventually they will be successful, and that it will lower everybody's costs in terms of medical care and certainly affect the health of the smoker. The day you stop smoking is the day that your body begins to heal. So we strongly encourage people to take advantage of this. But in the meantime, make sure that the smoke that you're producing is not in the faces of our young people here. So thank you very much.
And
Dr. Weed brings up a great point too. I can't ever recall talking to a smoker and they telling me that they enjoyed smoking. They always indicated to me that they wanted to quit, they tried quitting, but just can't quit. And Dr. Weed brings up a great point. Through the 1-800 number, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, through our PSA, Before You Light Up, Look Down, we're encouraging people to live a healthier lifestyle. And to close us out is the Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Fran Roy. Doctor.
So thank you very much. I know we all know the physical effects, negative effects that smoking has on the body, but it also has cognitive effects. So all the research will tell you that even secondhand smoke impairs a student's ability to learn. And so students who are exposed to secondhand smoke do not score as well on standardized tests as students who are not as exposed. So keeping that in mind and also understanding that cognitive function along with the bronchitis and the asthma. If your kid isn't in school because he's having an asthma attack, he can't learn. So I want to applaud the city and Dr. Vaillancourt and his department to have this initiative coming forward, because the more we invest in the social, emotional, and physical health of our children, the more we're invested in the education of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So in conclusion, the city is embarking on its public service announcement to look down before you light up. And if you are currently a smoker, we encourage you to take full advantage of this free service, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, which is 1-800-784-8669. And through this PSA, through educating our citizens on the dangers of smoking as well as secondhand smoke, it's our mission to lead a healthier lifestyle here in the city of Fall River. Once again, I want to thank Attorney Sousa for spearheading this initiative, as well as bringing to the table Partners for a Healthier Community, the Department of Public Health, the Florida Public School System, and Bristol County Tobacco Control Board. Thank you for attending.
Outstanding. Look at group one. Let's take a nice one.
Robert, go back, you're gonna take a picture with the man.
Come on, guys, follow me. Actually,
You guys can stand up.
let's all stand up right over here.
I'll hold the sign.
All tall people in the front, okay? The camera can't see you, okay?
You guys ready? What are you looking at? This one. Got it? 1, 2, 3.
That
Awesome.
is so cute. I like it. I like it. It's a good idea. That's a
So
good
rather than put it on
idea.
an easel, it's much more effective, I think, with the children around.
Right?